Hi, I'm Major Dan Rooney, the founder of the Folds of Honor Foundation. I'd like to thank in advance all the members at Brookside Golf and Country Club and Brad Zeitner, a fellow PGA golf professional and great wingman, for supporting Patriot Golf Day. What many of you may not know is how this started. I dreamed of being a fighter pilot and a PGA golf professional, but I had no idea how those two things would come together in my life. There's a term that I love, synchronicity, and that's when chance and purpose come together, when you're at that exact place at that exact time and your life has changed. For me, that occurred actually on a commercial airline flight shortly after my second tour of duty in Iraq, where I felt a strong calling from God to do something outside of the cockpit, specifically for the families of those that I'd seen killed or wounded above the skies in Iraq. On this fateful night, I was on United Flight 664, traveling from Chicago O'Hare to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where my dad and I own and operate a sleepy golf club on the shores of Lake Michigan. As I walked through first class, I noticed there was a young man in dress army greens, a corporal. That's kind of funny, but I figured somebody had swapped seats with him. I went back and I sat in coach. And about an hour and a half later, at this point it's after midnight, we landed in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And as we pulled into the gate, the captain came over the PA and said that we were carrying an American hero. And then we had the remains of Corporal Brock Buckland on this flight who'd been killed in Iraq, and his identical twin brother, Corporal Brad Buckland, was in first class, and he brought him those 7,000 miles home. The captain made another request that night that everybody stay in their seats until Brock's remains had been removed from the right cargo hold to honor the sacrifice that he had made for our freedoms. And that night, I watched the other side of war. The Bucklands on the darkest night of their lives, his brothers, his sisters, his parents, and his 4-year-old son sat right below the cargo ramp as that American flag draped coffin inched down. It was at that moment I knew I had to do something. But when I looked back to the plane, I was as shocked as I'd ever been in my life to see that despite the captain's request to remain in their seats, more than half the people had boarded the aircraft that night. And I knew that God had given me a mission in my life, and that I needed to reach out to help that young boy who was 4 years old, Jacob, and also to reach out to that half that got off the airplane. And since that moment, we've been incredibly blessed to have great golfers around this country join our mission. We've raised nearly $17 million through the efforts of Patriot Golf Day, and as a foundation, we've raised almost $30 million. But more importantly, we've awarded over 5,000 scholarships to spouses and kids who've had somebody killed or disabled in Iraq and Afghanistan. Our first scholarship recipient is 11 years old, and his name is Jacob, Brock's son. And through your help over Labor Day weekend, as I like to call it, Patriot Golf Day weekend, we can continue to have a huge impact on these families, the 1% each and every day that volunteer to defend the other 99% of us. So again, in closing, I'd like to thank all the members, and certainly Brad, as a fellow PGA golf professional, for leading the charge in our humble mission to leave no family behind on the field of battle. So have a great Labor Day weekend, but please take a moment to remember that freedom is not free. Godspeed, and thank you again for your support.